diversity in gaming and why it's important. And it's a really simple question to answer. Because if it doesn't have me as the protagonist, there's no point to playing it. It's as simple as that. If it doesn't have me as a white guy, a white straight guy as the protagonist, why the hell would I play it? Say I was black. If it didn't have a black straight guy, or a black gay guy, or an Asian transgendered bipolar something another in a wheelchair guy or girl, it's not worth the time. It's gotta have me in it. Makes it really worth it. So that'd be a game I would buy. Oh, I know. Wait up. Could be because the game's not about you, dumbass. Yeah, seriously, diversity in gaming and why it really doesn't matter. Because the game isn't about you. Every time I see something that's about diversity in gaming and why I should be represented in my game, that's pretty much all I see when I hear that. Diversity in gaming and why we need it. Why every game should be diverse. Why so-and-so company has just screwed up because their game's just not diverse enough. It could be because the game isn't about you. By the way, this is sort of a rant time. Wouldn't you know it? Anyway, the game's not about you. So why in the world would they give two shits whether or not you're male, female, white, trans, black, brown, blue, or I don't know, Vulcan, whatever? Oh, it could be because the game's not fucking about you. Stop crying about it. Go QQ in a corner somewhere. Realize games aren't developed to be you in their shoes and get on with it. Or get over it. You can either play it or you don't, because video games is an entertainment medium. It is something that we will divulge minutes to hours to escape. That is the whole point to gaming. And then when you sit there and you read an article going, it's so hurdy-hurdy, it's such a cop-out when people are like, well, you play games for just the story, or the mechanics, or this and that, when it should really be because they just want to sit there and say, that's the only thing that matters when diversity is the all 100% thing that matters. For a cop-out, it's a pretty damn good cop-out. If that's the case. Really wish I could go find that article, but I read it somewhere, so I can't link it a while back. But anyway. Seriously. The game's not about you. The game is about a story. No matter what that story is crafted, maybe that story's been retold hundreds of times, several times, a dozen times. It could be the Call of Duty 1533. Still going over the World War II or World War I, again, for the third time. But it's still there to tell a story. And it's not about you. The fact that people are like, it's gotta be me. I mean, there are games out there that are more tailored to that sort of thing. For instance, The Sims. Get on The Sims, you can create that sim just about any way you want. I think the only thing you can't do is put him in a wheelchair because he's disabled or something. But other than that, you can make him black, brown, white, yellow, blue, purple. You know, long hair, short hair, adult, teenager, child, old and gray, male or female. And I don't know, I think there was talk about some kind of transgender thing for whatever reason with the new one. I don't know, I haven't played the new one. I'm still running off of Sims 3. But anyway, you can do that in some games. Those games are sort of designed to be that way. You can have your own little fantasy life in the game world, and you can make your character look almost as close to you as possible because, unfortunately, every human is different. And it would take way too much to put every little aspect of every bit of person and humanity into a game to make you a 100% accurate recreation of yourself. It'd just be way too much time. We ain't got that kind of power process, that ability yet. once games get to where they can just go ahead and scan your face and then scan your body and then recreate you, we're not there and we never will be. But there are games designed like that. Go play those. Leave my Zelda alone. Leave Mega Man alone. Leave Final Fantasy alone. Leave Call of Duty fucking alone. Your Master Chief and whatever else. Leave it alone. It's not a story about you. It's a story about, say, a group of mercenaries trying to topple a evil government or something, or, an evil company. It's the story of a single man who defies all odds and continues to live while fighting an alien invasion that threatens all of humanity in some kind of holy war by another alien race who has decided that we need to wipe out everything for the good of the universe. It's a story of exploration of space, looking what is out there, running into hostile alien beings who want to assimilate your face into their collective. That's what the story's about. They're not about you. Quite frankly, we don't need diversity in games. We could care less. The idea of having a good story is what we want, or at least good game mechanics. I can't sit here and say that Saints Row is an excellent story compared to maybe Final Fantasy VII. Which one's better? You let me know in the comments below. But I can't sit there and say that Saints Row, 3 is a bang-up, awesome story. However, its mechanics, on the other hand, being able to go out, take cars, planes, other things, and do stuff like on GTA. To be honest, that's where it is for me in the game. I could care less about the story. I just really enjoy driving a tank down Main Street, blowing the shit out of everything. Meanwhile, there are games that I do care about the story. It's a main focal point for me. For instance, Fallout. I am enamored at the Fallout universe. I love it. Getting to know little bits of this and that, finding lore pieces here and there, figuring out what happened during that war, the fallout to that war, what's going on now, what's happening, what we're shooting for, what we're achieving right now. And those are things that drive me into the story. Is the gameplay important? Yes, it is important, but it's not as important as the story in that game. But those are also all on personal levels. For you, maybe the gameplay is what is the most important to you when it comes to Fallout. Meanwhile, for me, it's the story. Whether or not my character is black, white, or Asian honestly doesn't even cross my fucking mind. I could care less, unless it has something to do with specific dialogue choices that come with it that I might want to experience. Like, for instance, creating a female character because they'll have different dialogue when it comes to dealing with male characters in the game. Or playing a male character because they'll have different dialogue choices versus a female character in the game. And that's about the only time it really matters. As for the color of their damn skin, I don't give two shits. And if the first thing you go to when you pick up a new game is, well, it's the main character. Is the main character like me? Then you're probably looking at the game for the wrong things. Then again, we also get enjoyment out of things differently. We all don't get the same enjoyment out of something. And, if for whatever reason you are more likely to enjoy the game because the protagonist is Asian, I'm going to sit there and think it's weird, but more power to you at that point. But as for really, if the game's main focal point to you is whether or not the character you play at is a man or a woman, the color of their skin, regardless of what the story is, the mechanics of the game, I just can't see how that is has any relevance to anything, to be honest. Of course, then again, I guess it could be because I don't come from that perspective and go, well, this game is fun and all, but it'd be even better if my character was a woman. And my question would be, how so? What would that achieve for you in the game? What in the world would that change in the game if Link suddenly becomes a woman throughout the entire thing? You then have a chick saving the princess from Ganon. How does that change anything? It doesn't. It really wouldn't. It wouldn't change a damn thing about the game, other than the fact that you'd be looking at some chick instead of some dude. And that's why diversity doesn't fucking matter. There are no fucks in my field of fucks that I could give to diversity, to be honest. But, that is where I ask you, what do you think? Do you think diversity should be a bigger thing? Do you think it really matters whether or not you're playing as a male or a woman? A male or a woman? A man or a woman? Male or a female? Boy, girl? Do they have to be transgendered? Do they have to be disabled in order for you to enjoy the game? Sure, you can make games based off that. You could make a game where the protagonist is some transgendered girl in a wheelchair, missing a leg and an arm, and then put them in an arena with guns bolted to the wheelchairs, blowing everyone up. That's an idea. It's like Twisted Metal meets something. Anyway, but seriously, is that something you really gotta have? If so, why? Why does it matter? Why can't you enjoy the game for what it is? Why can't you enjoy the story? Would it change the story if some of these games that people want to sit there and say, Samus is a transgendered and should be? What would that do for the story? I mean, I can sit here and argue with the source material and be like, you've got a background to this character, and suddenly changing that character, that ruffles feathers. I mean, check Marvel, for instance, when they started doing their forced diversity thing. It wasn't the fact that suddenly Thor was a woman. It was how they went about doing it and what they inserted in with it. If you can craft a good story behind why we have female Thor, then nobody's going to really give two shits that Thor is a female. I mean, yes, there's going to still be the that's not my Thor camp, just like there is the that's not my Doctor camp for Doctor Who recently. But if you craft a good story around it, nobody's going to care. Well, they'll care a little bit, depending on what the material is. You can't just pluck a certain superhero and say Superman is now Superwoman, and, have your change everything that Superman was into a woman, give her a boyfriend and a husband and all this other stuff. You can't just do that. But make your own characters. Make your own stories and craft them around there. But if you've got to craft it around that, hey, this guy is gay, or hey, this chick is a lesbian, and you have to insert it every 5 seconds as a main thing, nobody's going to care about it. Nobody's going to pick it up. Nobody's going to play it. You want diversity? Make it happen. Make your own. Don't yell at other people to make it for you. If these people aren't making those kind of stories, they're probably not making them for a reason, because they don't know how. They don't want to know how, because that's not what they do. They're crafting the story that they want to craft, whether it's the next Legend of Zelda or the next World of Warcraft expansion. They know how to craft that in its lore and its world. And they have you running, well, Zelda needs to be a black woman, or something like that, or Link needs to be a black woman. Sorry. That doesn't help anything. Make your own games. Make them diverse as you want. Craft a story that's worth investing in and see where it goes. If you can't do that, then stop complaining about it. It's that simple. Diversity really isn't that big of an issue. It doesn't matter what the protagonist is. If the story isn't good or the mechanics of the game isn't worthwhile, what the freak is the point at that point? If I sat there and was playing Fallout and the story sucked, the mechanics sucked, but hey, my guy's in a wheelchair and he's a black lesbian, or she's a black lesbian, that unfortunately is not going to get me to buy Fallout at that point. And I highly doubt it will get a whole lot of people to buy it anyway, if that's the case. But somewhere I started asking questions for the comments. So let's go over those a little bit real quick. What do you think? Do you need diversity? Is it worth it? Is it something that is major? Do you look at a game and go, how diverse is this cast going to be? And is that what chooses, or what you use to define whether or not you're going to pay the $60 for it? Or 65 if you live here when you add taxes. About 66 for a brand new game. Is that what it is? Or is it something else? Do you look towards the story? Look at it and say, well, this might be an interesting story. Let's give it a shot. Is it the mechanics? Is that what drives you to buy a game? Is it something that is already an existing property? You're looking for those updates, those upgrades, those innovations to the original. Those are things I'd like to know in the comments down below. Until then, see you next time.